Hi, Gold. I was gonna look you up in the morning. Fine.
When people talk about film noir, the same titles always come up: The Maltese Falcon, Double Indemnity, Out of the Past. They're treated as if they define the genre, but they don't. In the 1940s, Hollywood churned out dozens of low-budget noirs, B pictures made fast, cheap, and without expectations. With little to lose, they took risks the prestige films couldn't. So what do we find when we step into noir's forgotten shadows? To understand these films, you first have to let go of polish and reputation. And once you do, something strange becomes obvious. 10. Stranger on the Third Floor, 1940. Stranger on the Third Floor, released in 1940, does not begin with a detective or a chase. Why does a genre obsessed with crime begin with a man haunted by his own conscience? Instead of following a criminal, the film follows a witness, a nervous reporter whose courtroom testimony sends a man to the electric chair. On paper, justice is served. But almost immediately, the story turns inward. The reporter begins to unravel, tormented not by the killer, but by the possibility that he helped condemn the wrong man. Peter Lorre appears as a mysterious figure who may or may not be the real killer, but his presence feels less like a person and more like guilt given physical form. The dream sequence explodes into warped staircases, jagged shadows, and distorted spaces that feel aggressively unreal. This film did not simply tell a crime story, it visualized anxiety. Noir did not begin with crime solving, it began with moral doubt. If Stranger on the Third Floor turns inward, the next film empties the world around it. 9. The Seventh Victim, 1943. Because this version of New York feels different. Why does the city suddenly feel emptier than dangerous? The Seventh Victim presents New York as a place of emotional isolation rather than excitement. Streets feel hollow. Conversations feel unfinished. People move past one another without connection. A young woman arrives searching for her missing sister, only to stumble into a secretive society built on silence and erasure. The shower scene is famous for its restraint. There is no explosive violence, only tension stretched until it becomes unbearable. This is not a noir about gangsters or ambition, it is a noir about alienation, where the city slowly drains people of the desire to exist. And once isolation becomes the threat, noir begins to change who gets to fight back. 8. Phantom Lady, 1944.
What's the difference whether my tie's okay or not?
It makes a great deal of difference, Mr. Henderson.
And this is where noir quietly breaks its own rules. Why is the bravest person in this story the one with the least power? Phantom Lady removes the traditional tough guy entirely. The accused man is powerless, trapped by the justice system and his lack of proof. The real engine of the story is his secretary, played by Ella Raines, who navigates jazz clubs, strangers, and danger with quiet determination. One of the film's most memorable sequences follows her tailing a bartender through rain-soaked New York streets without a single line of dialogue. The scene works because fear is communicated through movement and silence. Noir did not need physical dominance. It needed resolve. Strength, it turns out, does not always look heroic. Sometimes it looks familiar. 7. The Dark Corner, 1946.
Hi, Gold. I was gonna look you up in the morning. Fine. What have you done?
There was one problem audiences could not get past. Why was seeing Lucille Ball like this so unsettling at the time? The Dark Corner features Lucille Ball in a dramatic role years before her rise as a comedy icon. For many viewers, the disconnect was jarring. Her performance is sharp, controlled, and emotionally grounded. She is not a comic relief. She is the film's moral anchor. History pushed her toward comedy, but this film proves she could have stood alongside the greatest noir actresses of the era. And when familiar faces fail to ground us, noir slips into something far stranger. 6. The Chase, 1946.
Flowers, did you take care of?
Yeah, red and white roses, big anchor.
This is where things stop behaving normally. Why does the story suddenly feel like it is slipping out of reality? The chase unfolds with dreamlike logic rather than clear narrative rules. Events blur together. Time feels unstable. A drifter becomes the chauffeur to a violent gangster, falls in love with the gangster's wife, and attempts to escape. Halfway through the film, everything shifts. Critics dismissed it because it refused to explain itself. Today, that confusion feels intentional. Fear rarely arrives with instructions. And here is the twist most people miss. These films were not forgotten because they were poorly made. They were forgotten because they were too honest. Big studio noirs often wrapped despair in style. These B-Noirs removed the safety net. They showed fear without charm, guilt without redemption, and desire without glamour. They did not reassure audiences that order would return. They suggested it never existed in the first place. By now, the rules are gone. What follows is a film that refuses to replace them. 5. Born to Kill, 1947.
How much? $2.70, please. Keep the change.
Most noirs give you someone to hold on to. Why does this one refuse to offer even that? Born to Kill shocked audiences by offering no moral center. Lawrence Tierney's character is violent and hollow. Claire Trevor's character sees this clearly and chooses him anyway. Their relationship is not seductive, it is mutually destructive. The film does not soften its characters or punish them theatrically. It simply lets their choices play out. That honesty made it deeply uncomfortable. After this much darkness, noir does something unexpected. It steps into the light. 4. Ride the Pink Horse, 1947.
Chacho, like your girlfriend's.
I don't know how.
Everything looks bright here, so why does it feel more suffocating than the darkest city street? Ride the Pink Horse takes place in rural New Mexico during a lively festival. Music fills the air. Color dominates the frame. Beneath that surface, a war veteran is being hunted by criminals and authorities alike. The merry-go-round sequence transforms celebration into panic. The film proves noir is not about darkness, it is about pressure. But escape is an illusion. Some shadows follow you wherever you go. 3. Moonrise, 1948. This story feels doomed from the very first frame. Why does it seem like the crime has already happened? Moonrise follows a man haunted by the legacy of his father's execution. Long before he commits any crime, the town has already judged him. The opening montage of feet walking toward the gallows establishes inevitability instantly. This is noir as inheritance, where guilt is passed down before it is earned. Eventually, noir stops looking backward and starts turning its gaze inward. 2. Pitfall, 1948.
It looked harmless enough.
There are no dark alleys here. So why does everything still feel dangerous? Pitfall dismantles the post-war suburban dream. The protagonist has stability, comfort, and security. What he lacks is meaning. His affair is not glamorous, it is reckless. The fallout is devastating. The film suggests that safety can be just as suffocating as danger. Noir did not fade, it simply moved indoors. And finally, noir reaches its coldest conclusion. Desire without hesitation. 1. Too Late for Tears, 1949.
At the risk of seeming tedious, just where did you stash my cash?
Most noir temptations come with doubt. So what happens when greed does not even pause? Too Late for Tears begins with an accident. A bag of cash lands in the wrong car. Lizabeth Scott's character does not hesitate or rationalize. She decides. Murder becomes a tool rather than a moral crisis. She is not tempted by money, she is empowered by it. This is one of the most ruthless femmes fatales ever filmed. And here is the final twist. These films were not forgotten because they were small. They were forgotten because they were ahead of their audience. Modern filmmakers now praise these movies for the very things that once doomed them. Their ambiguity, their cruelty, their refusal to comfort. The forgotten noirs did not fail. The moment failed them. So why are these films resurfacing now? Because modern audiences are finally comfortable with uncertainty. We no longer demand moral closure. We accept discomfort. The forgotten noirs did not change. We did. Film noir was not born glamorous. It was born anxious, uncertain, and morally unstable. These forgotten films preserved that truth more honestly than many celebrated classics ever did. Which one surprised you the most? And if you want more stories hiding in the cinema's shadows, subscribe.